Fine. Carnage Gladiator, you found us. He's so good at hide and seek. He's like 2-0, but we've been hiding in the same jar, but it still takes him a while to find us. But anyway, Esika gave us a sample from her Prismatic Bridge, and let me tell you something, I don't know what she's into, but this is some pretty wild stuff. Anyways, welcome to Secret Laboratory. But yes, welcome to Esika, God of the Tree, and also the Prismatic Bridge. This is a very unique commander. Excited to talk about. Let's go and read the cards, and we'll jump into different ways that you can take this build. So we have Esika, God of the Tree. Vigilance, tap, add 1 mana of any color. Then other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance and tap, add 1 mana of any color. Let's take a quick look at Prismatic Bridge. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library to hit a creature or a Planeswalker. Put that card onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is a very unique card. If you're new to Commander or you don't know where this color identity falls, this is a 5-color commander. Even if you just build mono green legendary creatures with Esika, it's still 5 colors, so you can splash for other colors. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you do want to build this commander, these are almost kind of two... They're fun game strategies on both sides, but you almost want to pick one to be the primary focus of your deck. If you're using Esika as some sort of legendary tribal, most of the time you want to get that bonus to your legendary creatures, give them that extra mana. You can get it to flip onto the battlefield as Prismatic Bridge, but if you're building a Prismatic Bridge focus deck, you almost want to make sure your creature package is, 5, 6, 7, 8, something, because you can get that random element in Prismatic Bridge, but what you really want to do with these top of the library effects that are random, you want to kind of control that randomness in some form or fashion. So you really want to keep your creature count pretty low. That way, if you're going to get the trigger on the battlefield, get the trigger to resolve, you're going to get some sort of really good creature on the battlefield. So you almost want to reduce your creature count if you're going for a heavy Prismatic Bridge. But if you're going for an Esika build, you want to have a lot of legendary creatures, because let's say that we have Prismatic Bridge out there and then we flip into Riki or something like that, that may not feel that good. So you almost have these two different gameplay strategies. They can work together, but if you want to build a little bit more of a focus deck, you want to take one side and kind of run with it, and then maybe use the other side as just, hey, if we get the board state right, this might work out to our advantage. But yes, and the other thing about a 5-color deck is just because it is 5-color doesn't mean you need to build it 5 colors. I've built a lot of commander decks over the time, and when it comes to building 5-color decks, it's really hard to have some sort of cohesive game plan unless you kind of pick to maybe 2 or 3 colors as the primary focus of the deck. So if you do want to end up building this, pick out your favorite color shard. We do have a double green commander, so something that has like a green base like Sultai or Naya, Gruul, something that has some sort of foundation in green, and then you can use those other colors to help kind of push that color. Now if you go full 5-color, unless you just have the world's best mana base and all the dual lands, it's going to be really hard if you have just almost split down the middle all 5 colors. So it's going to be really important that if you do build this, have some sort of color focus in the deck. Doesn't mean you can't run the other colors, you just want to have that focus, that way you have that nice reliability of getting either lands out on the battlefield or some sort of just synergy that you can count on, and then use late game fetches or color fixing to kind of help power out some of those other spells in those other colors. Now, we're getting creatures on the battlefield for free. This is definitely going to make for a very good God tribal deck. We've got Xenagos, God Eternal Ronus. We've got Urus, God of the Victory, Karametra, Crufix. There's a ton of gods out there. If you want to go God tribal, the enchantment's going to give you a really nice devotion basis for a lot of your creatures. You're going to be able to flip some of these creatures onto the battlefield. Once you get devotion, you have this entire army of indestructible creatures. It's going to be a ton of fun. But this is kind of also what I'm mentioning about early in the beginning of the video, that if you're running a heavy creature package trying to utilize the bridge aspect, you want to make sure that it's a very concise creature package. Running this package of gods, or let's say you're going for Eldrazi, you're going for the Titans, whatever that is. If you're running some sort of big payoff creature, you want to make sure you keep that creature count pretty low. That way you can kind of control that top of the library effect. Now, that also brings us to the World Tree. If you're going to be running God Tribal, go for the World Tree. This is a brand new card that they released for the set, which is still blowing my mind. Enters battlefield tap, then for a double Wooburg activation, sacrifice it, search your library for any number of God cards, put them onto the battlefield. This is, I don't know, it's one of those lands that they've released it, and I was like, I didn't know there was a need for this card, but okay. So anyway, if you do end up going God Tribal, definitely toss in the World Tree. That's going to make it a lot of fun. Now, another way you can take this deck that's really going to work out is some sort of Enchantress build, especially if you have a 5-color Enchantress. One of the cool things about having... So when you have an Enchantress build, you want to have your Enchantress card draw. We have the Grothian Enchantress, Satyr Enchanter, Mesa Enchantress. You want to be able to get that card draw established and keep that going. There are some times where you have your card draw pieces, but you don't have an enchantment to cast into those card draw pieces to kind of get that value flowing. Simply just having an enchantment out of the command zone to kind of push that game plan, really going to help you in sort of your Enchantress builds. And like I mentioned, you know, if you have this Bant Enchantress deck you love playing, you can just make your commander at the helm, toss some mana fixing in there, and you're going to have Prismatic Bridge out of the command zone. So that's what makes this commander so unique, is that there's so many different ways that you can take this build and simply not forcing yourself to go 5-color. You know, you do want to make sure you can cast Prismatic Bridge if you have a Bant Enchantress deck, but there's nothing wrong with putting this in the command zone and having some fun with it, at least for a couple of games. Now, if you do end up going in the Enchantress line of play, Ghostly Prison, Spear of Safety, you want to have some sort of way to stop people from attacking you. One of the things that Enchantress decks want to do is they want to be able to stick around for the long haul, because if you can stick around into the long haul, that's going to get your card draw established, you're going to draw more answers, different things like that. Just running some sort of stacks effects or making it hard for your opponent to attack you is really going to help you out. Then running value stuff like Sun's Grace, Kestia, Sigil of the Empty Throne. Simply just getting that extra repeated value off your enchantment card draws or your enchantment cast. You're going to get those tokens on the battlefield. It's really going to help you between Ghostly Prison, Spear of Safety to kind of, you know, lock down the board. They can't attack you, then use these extra value pieces to develop your board state and really start to swing in. If you don't want to go in a traditional Enchantress line of play, or you want to kind of add some fun Enchantress win conditions for your deck, Opalescence, Sanctum of All, Divine Intervention, these are all fun Enchantress payoffs that you can go for. Divine Intervention is not going to win you the game, but if you do get it to resolve and you do get those triggers to stick, we all know who won the game. Making it in a draw is always a lot of fun. And then Mind's Dilation and Sunbird's Invocation. You know, you don't always have to go stacks with enchantment. Once you get that value established, that card draw, that ramp, getting some variation of Mind's Dilation, Sunbird's Invocation on the battlefield, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's definitely, if you're thinking about building Enchantress, it's one of those that you're not really going to care about your win percentage. It's going to be about the road trip. You know, how much fun did you have getting a lot of these enchantments out on the battlefield? Now, the Prismatic Bridge does care about Planeswalkers, so if you're going to end up going for like a Planeswalker build, there's some really good support stuff you definitely want to toss in there. That's going to be Doubling Season, the Chain Veil, Oath of Teferi. Chain Veil and Teferi, those are going to give you those extra activations. And then Doubling Season, if you don't know how that works with the Planeswalker, if you have Doubling Season on the battlefield, you cast your Planeswalker, it enters the battlefield with that double the amount of loyalty counters on there. So, there are some Planeswalkers you can just cast into a Doubling Season and immediately go for that ultimate. Some other good support stuff is going to be Atraxa, Deep Glow Skate. If you're running heavy Super Friends, you just want to make sure that you can either go for multiple activations or somehow really amplify the number of loyalty counters on there. Like I mentioned, you know, casting something into an open Doubling Season. We've got Tameo, Nicol Bolas, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. You just want to have some, you don't have to have all of your Planeswalkers immediately ultimate with Doubling Season, but you do want to have, you know, 2 or 3 that you pick out that will win you the game or make it really hard for your opponents to win the game. You know, it's going to be very important. Other than that, have fun, pick out some cool Planeswalkers. If you're not a Super Friends person, these are some of my favorite Planeswalkers to play. We've got Kiora, Sarkhan, Angrath, the Flame Chained, and of course Vraska. Vraska the Unseen is a wonderful. It's going to be able to enter the battlefield, immediately go for that ultimate with Doubling Season. Then you get 6 Assassin tokens on the battlefield that make a player lose the game if they deal combat damage. It's always been my favorite Planeswalker, and it's so much fun to go for that ultimate because it doesn't win the game, but all of a sudden you have these 1/1 assassins that are threatening to make players lose the game. It's just a lot of fun. But anyway, if you're going to go Super Friends, you don't have to go super cutthroat with them. Toss in some fun stuff. If you get Kiora going with that ultimate, getting those Kraken tokens on the battlefield, That is a lot of fun. And of course Sarkhan. I built like this mono red Planeswalker deck on Arena, and with Sarkhan, just turning all of your Planeswalkers into full 4 dragons, swinging in, then going for those activations on the second main phase. It's a lot of fun. Now, another cool way that you can take this deck is building some sort of control style deck. You can still use Prismatic Bridge as a way to kind of dump Planeswalkers on the battlefield, but instead of focusing on winning the game with like Doubling Season, you can reduce the amount of Planeswalkers that you're going for and simply just use Prismatic Bridge as a win condition. One of my favorite color shards is Soul Tie, so let's say that I built some sort of 5 color Soul Tie build where we're focusing on Soul Tie cards, Disallow, Force of Despair, Assassin's Trophy, Pull for Tomorrow, Maelstrom Pulse, and then using the Prismatic Bridge trigger to get out some key pieces that help us control the game, whether it's Liliana, Guruk, Tezzeret. We're going to be running a lot of artifacts in here because we're going to have a lot of mana. Whatever kind of control package you decide to go for, you can definitely build this deck with 4 or 5 Planeswalkers that help you control the game. And then that way you don't have to go for like the Chain Veil. You don't have to have Doubling Season out there. You can run them if you want to, but if you just kind of focus on this control shell and using that ability to just dump extra control pieces on the battlefield, that's definitely going to be a fun way for you to take the deck. Now, we have Esika, and Esika cares about legendary creatures, so what we're going to do at this point in the video is kind of shift away from the Prismatic Bridge line of play and just really focus as Esika as just kind of this legendary tribal commander. If you're going to be going for legendary tribal, Konda's Banner, Champion's Helm, Hero's Podium, these are all great effects that allow you to get that extra tribal legendary. You definitely want to run some sort of one-sided cards in a deck like this. Urza's Ruinous Blast and Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. These are going to be great options for you to have one-sided effects that are really going to help you get a ton of value. And then stuff like Blackblade Reforged, Sisay, and Champion's Helm. Once again, if you're building this as a legendary creature tribal, whatever that creature is or whatever sort of colors you're going for, these are going to be some of the best cards that you can toss in there. But yes, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you don't have to take Esika in a 5-color route. If you want to build a Selesnya legendary creature deck, go for it. There's a lot of good options out there. You have Reese the Redeemed, Amara, Shauna. These are all going to work out great with that Vigilance. There's going to be some times where simply just giving your entire creature base the ability to add mana to your mana pool and have Vigilance, that is going to be a very good deck, especially if you get some of the nice mid-range threats like Yasharn and the Blessed out there. Also kind of hitting on Selesnya's kind of protection theme. You have a couple different angels that you can toss in there. The main thing to take away from Esika is that you don't have to go 5-color legendary. You can use it as your creature base. Simply giving all these creatures that mana and that Vigilance is going to be a wonderful thing. Same thing as kind of taking this in sort of like this Abzan build. You've got the Orzhov, Kumbal, Tymna. You've got that nice card draw. You've got Kethis that cares about legendaries. You've got Vana that's going to be a really nice control option for you. Mazarek's really going to build up that board state. And then of course stuff like Arvad, Storev, and Ravos. These all care about giving some sort of value to your creature base or giving that extra value with Arvad, that +2/+2 to your legendaries. Once again, if you're thinking about building Esika, you want to pick out 2 to 3 colors that are your focus. Building an Abzan deck like this would be a ton of fun. And then also, especially building a Gruul deck. You've got all the Radas, access to all the Radas. You have Klothys, Xenagos, it's going to give you that nice attack step. And then Grumgully, and then Tuya. These are all really good options, and especially when you give them that Vigilance. Once again, give them Vigilance and give them that mana ability. You end up, and one of the main things about Vigilance and giving it a mana ability to think about is that your main phase, you can just swing in, get a nice combat step. Then when you go to your second main phase, you can tap down all these attacking style creatures for extra mana, really help further your board state. Just end up with this value board state that's going to be really hard to deal with because that mana ability is really going to power out a lot of fun ideas. There's a ton of other color options you can go for. These are just some of the ones that work out really well with the Esika. You can definitely go Simic, Simic Legendary. There's a lot of legendaries out there. The main thing to take away from these slides is that you don't have to go 5-color Esika. You can definitely build some sort of, pick out 2 or 3 of your favorite colors, toss all your legendaries in there, and have some fun. But that's going to be it for the video. If you have any other deck ideas or any sort of certain ways that you're going to take the deck, hop in the comments. I always love to read them. They help with me building decks, and it's always fun to get different people's perspectives. But that is going to be it for the video. In fact, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.